What's up, guys? So, happy 2018. I haven't done a video on this channel yet this year, and I have a lot of great plans for this channel this year, but when thinking back to 2017, I couldn't help but to compare it to my time as a lifeguard. I don't know why, but as soon as I thought of 2017, I was like, oh, my career as a lifeguard. For some reason in my mind, there is a comparison, because for one thing, I think they both looked better than they were. Do you know what I mean? So like when I looked at 2017 from afar, I was like, oh, it's gonna be a good year, things are happening, it's a good time. And then in November 2016, when the whole election thing happened, I was like a little bit more skeptical. And then 2017 happened and it was worse than I thought it was gonna be. That's how being a lifeguard was. I think that might be one way I'm comparing it in my mind, but also just in general, how horrible it ended up being when it looked so pretty on the outside. So I thought in honor of 2017, I would tell you guys some crazy stories from my time as a lifeguard. So when I was in high school, I was like 14, I started swimming for exercise, and one day I noticed a sign on the door, and it was like a lifeguards wanted sign. And they'd actually closed the pool for like 3 days. And I had never quite got the whole story, but apparently what had happened, and I don't know exactly what happened to cause this to happen, but apparently what had happened is the entire staff went on strike and quit. They were all like high schoolers, approximately like part-time or like young adults, and they all had just had it and they quit with management, like they were done. So they went on strike, they refused to come to work, and then the management was just like, fine, leave. And so I think they officially were all fired, but like the management like let them quit or whatever. But essentially they had lost all their employees in like a matter of like less than a week. And so all that was left was an assistant manager and the manager. Basically, out of sheer desperation, they put this notice up and they said that they would give you the class for free to become a lifeguard, and then they would give you a job, like, unless too many people signed up. So I think there were like probably something like 18 of us that took the whole course, and we got the job, and it was all very quickly done. And I thought I was such a badass because I officially got hired when I was 14 and I wasn't even legally allowed to work yet. Like, it was the day before my 15th birthday and I worked my first day. So I worked one day illegally and I was like, yeah, I'm working illegally. Like, it was so stupid. But yeah, I got that. And the first thing that they did was they threw me in the water to teach swim lessons. Kids are the worst. Like, kids are the worst when you teach them. And for some reason, I've always had jobs with kids, but like the worst. So I had this one girl who literally would stick her finger up her butt, get poop, and rub it on things. That's not normal. I had more than one kid do this, but I had one girl who would do it every single time. That same girl, I would have to walk her to the locker room holding her poopy hands so she wouldn't escape, because if she escaped, she would run around the pool and put poop on things. And I would have to give her to her parent, and then her parent would take her in the locker room, and I would have to go in after they left and clean poop off of everything. Then I had the kids that were just weird. Like, I had this one kid who literally more than one time forgot to put his bathing suit on and just walked out on deck, walked all the way around the deck naked before I told him he had to go put shorts on because he forgot. And I had an old person who did that too once. This old, like, 80-year-old guy, but that makes more sense to me because he's old. This old 80-year-old guy came out on deck and I had to tell him that he forgot to put his shorts on. Like, he literally got halfway in the water and I had to walk up to him and be like, excuse me, sir, you forgot your swim shorts. Speaking of old people, I had some of the worst experiences with old people. I had a lot of old people who would push boundaries because they were old and they were like entitled, and so they would do things that were not allowed. They were completely 100% against the rules, but because they were old, they thought they could get away with it. And then because I was so young, I think I was like 15 at the time when this particular incident happened, they felt like they could like get away with calling the cops on me. And so, well, let me tell you the story. Okay, so that particular incident, this one particular lady went to get in the water, and if you guys go to pools a lot, you know, you see those like blue water weight things, and they're made for like punching into the water for like a workout. Like, old people do it, it's great for them. But she got those, and she's in the shallow end doing her little workout, and there was this guy just walking back and forth, because like old people, and he was just walking, and he was a good like arm's length plus a good couple feet away from her, and the pool was packed, so it wasn't like he was like really close, and the pool was empty. Like, there's a good space. And she started just splashing him on purpose every time he would get to her end of the pool. And so I'm watching thinking, like, does she know she's splashing him? That was my first thought, because like, who would do that on purpose? That's rude, right? So I keep watching because I'm like, what if she is doing this on purpose? And I see her start to get closer to him, because he was still a couple feet away from her, so she was getting him wet, but like she wasn't touching him. But she started getting closer to him and eventually started just hitting him with the weight, like a foam weight, but still, like, you can't hit people. That's rude and like totally inappropriate. So she starts hitting him. he turned to look at her the second time she did it, and I literally called at her and I was like, what are you doing? You're an adult. And she just stopped and looked at me, and she just scowled at me, and she's like, he's in my space. And I was like, so what? I was so mad. I'm sorry, now I'm yelling at you guys. I'm reliving this experience. No, I was so mad about it because, like, what kind of adult does this? I'm so confounded by it. But so I like yelled at her that she had to stop, and I was like, you're gonna have to leave if you can't stop. And she threw her weights, got up and left, and apparently filed a complaint, an official complaint with my boss, who I worked in like a system, well, I worked at like a college. So you have the like college pool, which has a manager, but then the actual manager is like the dean of the college. So I had to go meet with the dean of the college and like go through this whole entire proceeding process thing. And then in addition to that, I got written up because like a customer complaint, you get written up. Everybody thought it was ridiculous. Like my boss literally tried to throw away the customer complaint, but it officially had to go in like their records because it's like a school of higher education or whatever. They have to record everything. And so somewhere out there, there's a record of exactly what happened. It's just a report, I guess, not really a write-up. But still, she did that. She also called the cops to like meet with her when we went to meet the dean. This guy who was getting hit, he had to come and like vouch for me. It was a whole thing. And that was like not the first time an old person called the cops on me. There was another time when I told this guy that he couldn't be naked in the sauna, and he called the cops on me. It was like against his rights, which you can't be naked in a public place, sir, unless it's like a nudist place. But like, there are kids there. You can't do that. I also had this old guy who would come every day. Normally he had a punch card, and I worked in the morning by myself, and it was 5 a.m. And for a while we didn't have enough employees, so I was working for like half an hour by myself, which is just like, it's a big no-no in pools. Huge no-no, not allowed. But I was doing it because that was like the only option they had. And so I was there for half an hour by myself. This guy came in, and he was like, well, I have cash today. And I was like, pay me when you leave. Like, you come every day, I'll see you tomorrow, so if something happens, like, you know, I'll pay for it. I don't care. Just pay me when you leave. I can't leave the water. Because typically what I would do is I knew the people in the morning, so I would wait for the half an hour, and then I'd go punch them all, because most of them stayed for half an hour. Not a big deal, whatever. This guy decides to walk behind the counter, which has a latched, like, swing open style door thing. He walks through that, like unlatches it, walks through it, goes in, uses the register key, which is up on the register because you have to have it in for the register to work because it was an old register, uses that to unlock the register, puts his money in, and takes his own change out. I'm hearing this happen. I turn around and look. I had to leave my position, climb down from the lifeguard chair, walk in there. By the time I get in there, like, he's done and he's like leaving. He ignores everything I say to him because I'm like, sir, that's extremely inappropriate. Like, you can't be back here. Like, next time you need to just do what I tell you to do, or I'm gonna have to like call my boss, or I'll have to call the cops even. Like, you can't be touching the money drawer. You know what I mean? He completely ignores me, goes and gets in the pool, does his own thing, ignores me the rest of the time I worked there, like never said anything to me again. But continued to push rules and boundaries all the time because that's what these people do. There was also a time period of like 6 months where this old guy would poop in the pool every day. Every day. Every day. Why are you pooping in the... Wear an adult swim diaper. They make them. Maybe he was. I don't know. But like every day I would have to get in and clean poop out of the pool. Every day. There are so many other like horrible customer experiences I have, but like we don't got time in this video. But besides like the customers being horrible, I also had horrible co-employees at some points. Like, I was a head lifeguard, so I was in charge of a lot of people under me at different points. I had a pair of employees have sex in the back room and I caught them, and one of them was a friend of mine. Thank you for scarring me for life. I had employees that would come in after dark, use their keys because they opened or closed to like come in and like use the water slide and like do different crazy things at night, or just like create pranks at night. Like, don't be a child, although I did create a prank when I left. I had a couple other employees that I actually had to fire because they came to work drunk. I had this one guy that came to work so drunk that he actually had to go have his stomach pumped and almost died. That's a whole nother story, but like, had to fire him too. Then on top of that, I had this guy who literally brought psychedelics in and was showing them to me, and I had to call the cops. There was another guy who did mushrooms in the sauna with people, like offered them to customers. Who thinks that's a good idea? And then like, if that's not bad enough, the management was awful. Like, that's why there were never enough employees to make things run smoothly, because the management was so bad. The manager, when I got to a position when I was under her, because eventually I did, I got access to the computer and stuff like that to do like some of the paperwork side of things, and I started noticing indiscrepancies. I found out that the hours that people were putting down were not corresponding to like what people were getting paid, and I always told people like watch your timesheets and stuff like that even before that, because my hours almost never got paid correctly, and so I'd have to take them in and they'd have to fix them or whatever. But like I found out that she was actually taking hours from people's timesheets, putting them on her own timesheet, and then calling that like good or whatever, because apparently like if she felt like somebody didn't deserve their extra 15 minutes even though like they were there working for 15 minutes, she would take it and put it on her paycheck. And like she did the same for me. She would put my hours that I would come in, like if I got called in for overtime, like somebody needed something and I had to come in, I should have been getting like time and a half or whatever. Like she would put those hours that were like worth more on her timesheet and say that she was the one that got called in. And so I always kept track of stuff, so I always got my money back. I'd take pictures of my timesheet, stuff like that, and I could like show it even to like the dean or whatever. But in terms of actually her getting away with it, like she completely 100% did, because nobody was above her to check her stuff. So at our work, for some reason, when we were short, we would show our boss the timesheet and she would just report the overage on our next paycheck as like, oh, incorrect for last or whatever. She was basically hiding the fact that the hours she put on her timesheet, if anybody were to check it, were the same hours that were on ours, if that makes sense. So like essentially it looked like she came in for this particular day, and so we wouldn't both be there because we wouldn't both be needed unless something huge happened. So she didn't want to report that I came in too, so she would take mine off, I would notice it, she'd put it on the timesheet in a different way, and I would get it in the next paycheck. But like that way there was never a comparison showing that I came in at the same time she came in. Does that make sense? I don't know, maybe that didn't make sense. But essentially she was stealing from me like huge amounts of money. Like probably 20 hours a week of like overtime that I was doing, she was claiming, and she never got caught for doing that. Like literally to this day, I even asked a former manager, I was like, so do you think this is accurate? And she's like, yeah, no, I noticed that too. And I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. But there's nobody above her to like check her in the department. So she signs her own paycheck. It was just so insanely stupid to me. But on top of that, she would like, if she didn't like somebody just because she didn't like them, she would get rid of all their hours so they couldn't work. There was also like instances where people who were gay would take the course, and she was like a really religious Christian, and she wouldn't hire them because she didn't like them because they were gay. She never like came out and said that, but when we would go to do interviews, because I would sit in on the interviews and help grade people sometimes, two people in the room would have high scores for these people, and her scores would be all ones, so it would knock their total score down so low they couldn't get the job. Like it was insane stuff like that happening, and she was just such a nut job. So yeah, kind of like, you know, management in this country, we could say. Anyways, I don't know. So that was those are just a few of the crazy things that happened when I worked as a lifeguard. There's so many more, and so many that could be like full 30-minute stories because they were so insane. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on 2017 are very much so like my thoughts of working that particular job. So hopefully 2018 is better. That's what I'm looking forward to. When I think back on 2018, I hope I think of it as being like one of my best experiences in life, not relating it to something horrible that I did. I don't know. That's just, yeah. So I hope you guys' 2018 is going amazingly well so far. If it is, or if it isn't, either way, give this video a thumbs up. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. If you guys are interested in subscribing, go ahead and subscribe down below. I post every single Saturday. And you can follow me everywhere at Kelsey Ventures in between uploads. So until next week, I hope you guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!